The Tragedy of Cinema podcast is intended as a family-friendly program that by extension strives to be inclusive to all people regardless of their ethnicity, gender, creed, or any other identifying factors in this incredibly diverse world of ours. With that said, some of the films we discuss may contain serious subject matters or have content considered morally objectionable by today's standards. We do not intend to condone or dismiss these aspects of these films, but our primary focus will be on what we believe the film succeeds at, some fun facts, and our personal enjoyment factors of each film. With that said, we hope you enjoy the show.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema. This is a real talk episode 4 that I have titled Oscars Be Slappin'. If you know, you know. The Oscars were just this past Sunday, and Kyle and I thought it would be appropriate to go over some of the major award winners and then talk about the slap heard around the world and how we feel about it and the repercussions that we think it'll have in the movie industry. So, Kyle.
In the entertainment industry in general, really. Yeah, but Kyle, here, doing this remotely for the first time.
Yeah,
really.
We're testing this remote, so he doesn't have to drive like an hour and a half to get here to the studio.
Yeah.
Kyle, did you happen to catch any of the Oscars live?
No, I didn't even know it was happening. I probably haven't watched the Oscars really ever, to be honest. I never really had much of an interest in it. It's just rich celebrities being rich celebrities and then getting mad at comedians. Right. And this time was like more mad than others.
Well, and that was one of the things that I was taking away from it. Year after year, they always have these comedians host. I know Chris Rock, I think, hosted it back in 2016. I think Ellen DeGeneres has hosted it. A myriad of actors / comedians have hosted this. And to me, when you have an award as prestigious as an Oscar, I really don't think you need a comedian up there. I think it should be more professional because all they're doing is taking jabs at celebrities. And with the way the world is now, people get hurt, their feelings hurt over anything small at times. So I don't think that the Oscars should have a comedian as a host. What do you think?
Any event where everyone's just congratulating each other for being so awesome, it just seems very self-indulgent, I would say. It's largely celebrities continuously going on how they want to be both rich and morally righteous at the same time. And it's kind of laughable in a way because it's not that kind of contribution to the society. It's not like a scientific award or an engineering award, something like that. Something that really benefits society to that degree. So I think a comedian kind of like shooting them down a peg is usually appropriate. And that's what makes it entertaining for a more large audience necessarily. I think a comedian being there is fine. Just to kind of like lightly roast the celebrities and maybe keep their egos in check to a degree. But at the same time, though, the show could be done without a comedian, and I'd be perfectly fine with that as well. Right. Either way, the show has not really been interesting to me for the majority of my life. But this year,
right? But what I'm saying is, if you had somebody up there like a Sean Connery, or I don't know, Harrison Ford, somebody that commands respect, I don't know, give me one of the great actors, you know what I mean, that we have right now, Tom Hanks even. If you have somebody up there, there's a different there would be a different feel about the Academy Awards. I think it would be like, this means more than having Chris Rock up there, or let's say Jim Carrey, or which we'll talk about Jim Carrey here in a little bit too, from what I sent you earlier. I just think that with the ratings that have been going down for the past couple of years, that they needed to do something. And I'm not saying it was a stage what happened, but we'll talk about it here after we get through, because I don't want that to be the topic of focus of this first part, because what we're doing is we're actually honoring the people that put the time in and effort in and won the awards. So, Kyle, with that being said, why don't you go ahead and give us the nominees and the winner for Best Picture for the Oscars?
Yeah, for winner for Best Picture is Coda. That is let me pull up the facts on that real quick. Starring Eugenie Derbez, Emily Jones, Troy Kotsur, and that was a winner for Best Picture. I haven't personally seen the film or actually heard of it, actually. Running-up nominees were Dune, Belfast, The Power of the Dog, King and Richard, Nightmare Alley, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Licorice Pizza, and West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg version.
Right.
And for
the winner
Best
for
Actor here, we have we're going.
Oh, yeah. Did you say Coda was the winner for that?
Yes, Coda.
And I have not seen it, but I heard it is the first streaming movie to win. Like the first, the one that didn't go to the theaters and went straight to digital, like on demand, like from Paramount or whoever it was, Amazon Prime, Hulu.
That's impressive. Considering the past 2 years now of having to deal with the pandemic, it makes sense for streaming movies to be taken more seriously because they just have to be. Otherwise, you're just not going to get those films into the broader audience nowadays, or even the broader critic audience nowadays. A lot of critics are still not going to theaters right now, so I think it's very important. So yeah, very good on Coda for being the first film that exclusively available via streaming to be winning Best Picture. So big deal there.
All right, and then
want to read off the other categories, or
let's just go ahead and run through them. And
all right,
I don't know if I've seen any of those movies that were in the up for Best Picture. I know. I think you saw Dune, but I don't think I saw anything else.
I saw Dune and Nightmare Alley personally. I mean, get around the West Side Story. Personally, wasn't really interested in like Belfast or Power of the Dog or even King Richard and other movies like that. But I understand why they got in the awards section. I've seen positive buzz around them. But end of the day, Oscars are I don't know, Oscars and also like a lot of entertainment award shows usually go for like films that you don't typically see. Like big giant Marvel movies aren't going to be on here all the time and are very rarely seen on here anyways. Big screen mainstream movies anyways.
Right.
So. Not surprised I haven't heard from him. But yeah, going on to the awards here. Best Actor was awarded to Will Smith for his role in King Richard. Best Actress went to Jessica Chastain for the movie The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Best Original Song went to No Time to Die for Billie Eilish's song Finesse. Best Animated Feature went to Encanto, the Pixar film just released earlier last year. And Best Director went to Jane Campion for the movie Power of the Dog. International Feature Film went to Drive My Car. Best Supporting Actress went to Ariana DeBose for West Side Story. Best Supporting Actor went to Joy Kotsur for Coda. And Best Documentary Feature went to Summer of Soul. Live Action Film went to The Long Goodbye. Best Original Screenplay went to Belfast. Best Adapted Screenplay went to Coda. Best Visual Effects went to Dune. Best Original Score also went to Dune. And let's see here. Best Cinematography also went to Dune. Best Costume Design went to Cruella, which, wow, I forgot that was even a 2021 film. I thought that was even older than that. Best Film Editing went to Dune. Best Production Design also to Dune.
Man, how many did Dune
Sound? Dune won a lot of awards, but missed out on Best Picture. Feel bad for that. It swept all the awards except Best Picture. Looks like. Well, still, awards that's how it goes sometimes. Yeah. So, and that's the rewards for the 94th Academy Awards, the Oscars. Wow. So cool.
All right, so I guess we're going to start addressing the elephant in the room. As you know, Chris Rock, and I'm sure probably everybody's seen or heard about it by now. Chris Rock was hosting the awards, and he's over there, and there was a lot of off-color jokes throughout the thing anyway. But then Chris Rock says, hey, I love you, Jada. I can't wait to see you in the next G.I. Jane movie. Okay, and it showed him, and Will Smith's laughing, and Jada's just not really laughing. She's just sitting there.
Was clearly disappointed with that joke.
Right. So the next thing you see is you see Will Smith just kind of like walk up the ramp, and Chris Rock don't know what. He's got his hands in his pocket. He don't know what's going on. And Will Smith just hauls off and slaps the dude. I mean, and Chris Rock's like, and then he just turns around and walks away. And Chris Rock's like, wow, Will Smith just slapped me. I'm using, there's some choice language in here I'm not using. Which Will Smith proceeds to say, keep my wife's name out of your mouth. I'll leave the explicit out that he used. He's like, dude, it was a G.I. Jane joke. G.I. Jane was a movie about Demi Moore where she was in the army and she had to shave her head.
Yeah.
And then
noteworthy for the time 25 years ago to have to shave your head for a movie.
So then Will Smith goes and repeats it again. I said, keep my wife's name out of your blah, blah, blah mouth. Mm-hmm. Now, and he's like, fine, whatever. And Chris Rock, if you looked at it, he just looks stunned. You know, he's like, and then he looks to the side like, did that just really happen? You know what I mean? Like, but for Chris Rock, I have to hand it to him. Number one, he handled it well. And number two, he went on with the show. Okay, I will say that. Was the joke in poor taste? Yes. Okay. But if you take it with the realm of every joke that happened that night, it was probably pretty mild. Now, I didn't know that Jada actually suffers from
autoimmune disease,
a medical condition called what, Kyle?
It's an autoimmune disease. Specific terminology.
I'll say aprosia.
Autoimmune disease.
Yeah, it's like
alopecia or something like that, I believe.
Yeah, which basically causes her hair to fall out, and so she shaved her head. Okay. Mm-hmm. Was the joke in poor taste? Probably. But there's ways you handle this. Number one, if I'm Will Smith and Chris Rock, let's say you're up there giving awards, Kyle, and you say something about my wife, I'm not coming up there to slap you. You're getting decked. Oh. You see what I'm saying? I'm not just going to slap you. So you're going to be hurt, and I might not just stop at one. I might take a couple, but I'm just saying, I think that a lot of Will and Jada's marriage and their life has been in the forefront over the recent years. I mean, they even show clips of 2016's Oscars where they're cracking jokes at Jada and him. So I don't know if it's just something that was building up in Will Smith, and then he just finally had enough and something just broke loose. Or if he was fine with it until he looked at Jada and then he seen how upset she was, and then that just kicked something in him to go defend his wife's honor.
Yeah. It seems like quite it was to be perfectly clear, it's an inappropriate and emotional outburst that caused physical violence, and that's completely unacceptable in any event, especially an event where it's being viewed by 140 million people. Clearly they have a history of specifically Will Smith and Jada Smith of airing a lot of dirty laundry publicly. Not to put it that harshly necessarily, but they clearly have a very public persona in life of some degrees of like some questionable choices they made in both their marriage and their lives. And it appears by this violent outburst on the Oscar stage, they have quickly made a even more of a target on their backs. I think this is going to be immensely is going to reflect very poorly on Will Smith as a person and Alan Jada Smith as well. They've essentially painted a target on their back for all comedians to attack them, because now this is going to be a comedian versus actor kind of question, something like that too. It's highly unfortunate. I mean, this is going to be bad news for everyone else around. The one person who's going to get out of this is like right now, I get Chris Rock's career is going to kind of skyrocket after this event, even though he's already a comedian worth $100 million. But even I was reading today, like tickets for his show next month went from $48 to base price to something like $340.
Yeah, he's actually coming to Indianapolis, I think, in May.
Yeah, so his prices have already exploded. Nearly 10 times what they were originally. Well, not 10 times, closer to like 7, but still, like, people are now immensely interested in what Chris Rock will do as a response to this in the future. And at the time of this recording, he has not released any public statement about what he believes is going on. Will Smith has issued an apology.
Yes, and I have that right here. Before I read this, Kyle, did you happen to listen to Will Smith's acceptance speech?
Yes, I did. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and tell the audience the overview of that speech. It was really weird, if you will. And the thing was that I took from it is he did not come out directly and apologize to Chris Rock. He kind of circumvented his way around the whole issue without addressing the one person he needed to, I don't think.
Yeah, he apologized to his fellow actors and nominees for making a scene, and he also apologized to the Oscar organization themselves and the organizers for the event, of course. But very directly left Chris Rock out of that initial apology, as well as he kind of compared himself to the I forgot the real life character he portrays in the movie King Richard. I have to look that up real quick. I don't in a second. But he compared himself to that character, and that who's a real life person. And even they kind of like disown that kind of attitude, like, violence at those events is not cared for. So basically he said, like, the character he portrayed in that movie was a defender of their family, and kind of obviously alluding to the action he just committed earlier that evening. So that was the gist of his first acceptance speech and apology.
Well, yeah, and then he was like, love will make you do some crazy things at times, or something like that.
Yeah. So it's kind of a dismissal of his own actions, and he then went on to later kind of.
And my thing is, this is your first Oscar win, okay? And I was on Twitter, and I saw, Stephen A. He's a big ESPN analyst, sports writer, talk show host, whatever. And he said, "I can't believe what I just saw happen. Tell me I just not see that." If anybody wants to go back and read his Twitter feeds, he was pretty. I mean, a lot of us, we were all shocked. Some of the wrestlers in the wrestling world thought it was a work. But here's Will Smith, came out the day after, and I have his statement here, and he said, "Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are a part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There is no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. I would also like to apologize to the Academy, the producers of the show, all the attendees, and everyone watching around the world. I would like to apologize to the Williams family and my King Richard family. I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for us all, or for all of us. I am a work in progress. Sincerely, Will."
That very much. Yes, that is a very well written response.
But
it also looks to me like that was almost certainly written by their kind of like his community management team.
Publicist.
Almost certainly,
right?
He had probably
Damage control. Damage control.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, Chris Rock could have sued him for assault. Absolutely.
Oh,
the Academy,
still may.
The Academy is still under investigation. They may strip him of his Oscar. And I can't think of no other. I don't know how you would feel, Kyle. How would you feel if you had just worked so hard and won the one thing that's been eluding you your entire movie career? You got to present it, and then if it gets stripped away, not saying it will, but if it does, that's got to be an all-time low.
I don't think they will. Mainly because not to make it a completely about racial thing, but Oscars are also just coming off last year or the year before is the Oscars so white controversy they kind of ran into last year. So to give an Oscar to a black man and then take it back from him is just kind of a no-go. And also they have a history of they've posthumously gave an Oscar to Roman Polanski for his films, and we already covered a podcast talking about his misdeeds and where they were fully aware of what he's been accused of and convicted of, and still awarded him an Oscar and never took it away from him, even posthumously tried to say we no longer honor that Oscar. So to take away from Will Smith, that doesn't seem valid to me. He did earn that award for the film work he did in this case. So I'm not going to take that away from him. To say though, if I were the Oscars, I certainly wouldn't invite Will Smith ever again. That would be my kind of decision personally. If I were kind of in charge of that kind of situation. Of course, I'm not. And they will do what they want to do. I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't let Will Smith back personally, or anyone that really necessarily supported him as well, because they've. Although this is going to be surely going to have a lot of popularity for the Oscars for this year, this is a bad image for all of Hollywood, and you just can't have that image going.
Well,
this is kind of. Go ahead.
And something that stood out to me is, like, you see all the reactions of some of the actors that were there, like Denzel Washington, Bradley Cooper, and there was another one, like, it's on the tip of my tongue, but they all kind of, went up to Will and said, look, you got to settle down, and give him support, it was a joke, and all that. Then you see like Nicole Kidman, I seen a picture earlier where she's like almost falling out of her seat. Her eyes are wide open. Her mouth's like, I can't believe this just happened. But a lot of people are starting to throw stuff on their own social media. And the one I sent this to you earlier, and I think it was pretty amazing coming from the guy that sent it. This was from Screen Rant. Their social media site. You can find them on Facebook or whatever, but that's screenrant.com. And the title was Jim Carrey Sickened by Will Smith's Oscar Win Standing Ovation. Okay. So basically, Will Smith went up there, smacked Chris Rock. Then when he got his Oscar, everybody gave him a standing ovation. You know what I mean? So here's what Jim Carrey had to say. So Jim Carrey says, let me get down there to it. He says that he was sickened by the standing ovation, which he says was a really clear indication that we're not in the cool club anymore. He says, Carrey said that if it were him, he would have announced that he was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous. That insult is going to last a very, very long time. He says, emphasize that the point, saying that while anyone can criticize from the audience or social media, nobody has the right to physically attack someone over a joke. If you want to yell from the audience and show disapproval or say something on Twitter, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words. When the interviewer King said that the situation seemed to escalate, Carrey quickly cut her off, saying it didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will had something going on inside him that's frustrated. Carrey finished up saying that he wished Smith the best and has nothing against the actor, not noting that he's doing great thing and that he's done great things, but that it was not a good moment for the Oscar winner as it cast a pall over the rest of the winners and nominees. A lot of people worked really hard to get to that place, and to have their moment in the sun, to get the reward for the really hard work they did, it is no mean feat to go through all the stuff you have to go through when you are nominated for an Oscar. It's a gauntlet of devotion you have to do. It was such a selfish moment that cast a pall over the whole thing, Carrey said, closing out. So, Kyle, what's your thoughts on Jim Carrey's take?
I am in almost complete and total agreement with Jim Carrey on the totality of his.
And we don't say that very often.
I largely think Jim Carrey is a pretty on the spot about his opinions. Actually, when I listen to Jim Carrey, I actually really do admire him as an actor and as a kind of a bit of a philosophizer in his own way. I find him a little more tame than a lot more other actors who are a little more ego-driven. So yeah, I pretty much completely believe Jim Carrey on that front, and I agree with him totally. This has broader negative ramifications than I think either one of us or many other people will have a grasp on for years to come. Honestly, the damage control is not going to be done well on this. It hasn't done well yet, and it completely overshadows the event because now none of this Oscar event isn't about the Oscars anymore. It's just about Will Smith assaulting Chris Rock. That's all it's about. It's not about the awards. It's not about any kind of other thing, and it's incredibly. This one is not the right one, but also like the G.I. Jane 2 joke, it's not even a good joke. That's another disappointing thing. I mean, like, even if I don't think Chris Rock even necessarily, it hasn't been confirmed if Chris Rock even knew that Jada Smith had alopecia, but even then, it's not a good joke. That's the thing that's kind of disappointing about it. If Will Smith had slapped Chris Rock just because it was a bad joke, then it'd be more understandable than him defending his wife, personally,
right?
Just because the joke was that bad,
right?
But it overshadows a lot of things too. It makes the whole story about Will Smith in not a good way. Like there was another event even earlier on, like Amy Schumer made some really off-color jokes that I disapproved of and read about later. I had to look up the video clips later when she called Kristen Dunst basically set dressing basically, and so for having like done nothing with her career, and it's like that's incredibly rude and offensive. But because of Will Smith's actions for taking the spotlight, no one's going to talk about Chris Dunst or talk about like defending her kind of honor in that way. So it's just, he has overplayed himself basically, and diminished the maltreatment of his fellow actors.
Right,
and that's incredibly unfortunate.
So we had the Will Smith apology, if you will, to Chris after the next night or the next day. This is Chris Rock's statement. So I think it's only fair that we give him the time to say what he wants to say.
Oh, Chris Rock does have a statement. Okay.
Yes. It says, as a comedian, it can be difficult to understand which lines are to be crossed and which ones aren't. Last night, I crossed a line that I shouldn't have and paid the enormous price of my reputation as a renowned comedian. Comedy is never about poking fun at or making light of people with major ordeals happening in their lives. Comedy is about using real-life circumstances to create laughter and bring light to an otherwise dark world. With that said, I sincerely apologize to my friends Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith, and the rest of the Smith family for the disrespect and disregard I displayed, which was unfortunately broadcast for the world to see. I hope that with time, forgiveness can come out of this situation. We can all be better, more considerate people in the end. Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm. I think that's also same thing. That's also like a complete community brand manager on his part writing that response. That's definitely like clinically right thing to say.
Right.
Same time, I also think that's incredibly generous for him to say, because I don't think he needs to really apologize for, he's a comedian who makes an off-color joke. Yes, he can apologize specifically to Jada Smith, but Will Smith already took his apology and then some when he slapped him in the face. At that point, You don't owe him an apology because he's clearly taken action. He has taken a response to you that has been disproportionately cruel to you in that kind of manner. So I think Chris Rock is I'm on Chris Rock's side on this whole issue here. Some of the people I've seen in communities on Twitter and other social media groups seem to be kind of split down the middle about defending either Will Smith or Chris Rock. I kind of err on the side of Chris Rock.
Same. Now,
which is not to say I like Chris Rock
let me ask you this question. Do you think that this incident has now caused let's see how I want to phrase it. Do you think it has caused trouble for stand-up comedians around the world? Do you think they are safe? Because if they just start poking fun at somebody in the audience, a heckler or something, is this going to be a bigger issue now than it was before?
I think there's a very temporary state of it could be unsafe, because I think Will Smith's going to get away with this one. But if there's another situation where in any way similar to this, and either in a small scale, like a stand-up comedian getting assaulted at a bar, or in a large scale stand-up special where a comedian gets assaulted, then that person who did the assault is going to get slapped a lot harder than anyone else. Well, not slapped. That's an unfortunate word. Will be punished with the utmost severity of the law and of sue ramifications. So I think that's going to be the next big thing. Will Smith's going to get away with this, and then the next person's going to get all the punishment for it. They're going to pay the bigger price for it if they instigate this. So for the moment, I do believe though that if I'm a comedian, I'm a little bit more worried about my personal safety, because the whole point of the social contract you entered into is that the comedian will make jokes that can possibly be distasteful or hurtful, in the sake of trying to ride that line of risque comedy, which a lot of people do appreciate, myself included. And sorry, one moment. Podcast.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, Kyle. This is what happens when you remote. It's fine.
Yep.
So I also pulled up a clip, which I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it was a clip of The View. Anybody that knows The View knows their stances are really way out there usually, and just Whoopi Goldberg and that Joy Bear or whatever her name is, and then they had two other people that I didn't know who they were, but they started talking about it, and they went around the table, and the consensus was that there's no place for violence in something like this. There's never any place for violence. Whoopi, even in her roundabout talk, she went all the way around the world and she just couldn't land the plane. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
So I was kind of shocked. Now, one thing I will say about the whole situation is, did Will stand up for his wife? I will say yes. Any man's going to stand up for his wife, his girlfriend, or whatever. They will stand up for their wife. Now, my thing is, could it have been handled differently? Absolutely. You wait till a commercial break. You go backstage. You air it all out back there. You want to punch him, slap him, whatever, do it back there, but not on live TV in front of millions, man. That's just and Chris Rock could have came back and said an apology on live TV after the confrontation too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
hey,
totally.
The joke I just told
was out there like that. I think you should have.
Yeah, and the joke that I just said was out of taste, and I would like to publicly apologize to you, Jada, in front of millions of people. I think that would. And then I also was reading that that Will Smith should have been escorted off the set right then and there, and they were like, "Well, they didn't want to do that because it's live, and you're going to escort this man off the TV." And he's getting ready to win the best Oscar for the best actor of the movie. You know what I mean? And it just wouldn't have been like, a lot of other people I've read about is, that's something else that was really shocking. It was a black man slapping a black man. A lot of it was making a big deal out of that. And I was like, look, it doesn't matter your race, your color. I don't care if it was a white comedian and Will Smith. I don't care if it was a black comedian and Jim Carrey out there. Anytime there's violence like this, and I use the term violence, it was a slap, but I mean, you say violence, people can go a myriad of ways. You know what I mean? So, I just wish the Academy would have handled it better.
Yeah. I wish the Academy, I wish Will Smith, I wish a lot of people would have handled it better. The one person I think handled it the best was Chris Rock in that scenario.
Right. And he went on to finish the show like a champ.
Oh, yeah.
You are at the most prestigious awards. Okay, this is the highlight of the career. You would think that your actors and actresses have enough respect for each other not to do something like this on live TV. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And I see another thing that said, Jerry Lawler tweeted that, hey, me and Andy Kaufman did this like 35 years ago on the David Letterman show when he slapped Andy Kaufman. So, there are hundreds of ways to further complicate this debate and issue, to the point where it all gets kind of lost, and you miss the tree for the forest, kind of the idea, or the exact opposite manner. Like on the very simple manner, this is assault and battery, very clear cut and simple. That is against the law. That is immoral. The moment you have you answer negative words with violence, it is a hard case to prove you were in the moral right in there. Yes, he defended his wife. I agree with that. But this is the moment he chose. There probably, this reeks of like he's probably had multiple other moments to defend his wife that he failed to do. And then he chose this moment to assault Chris Rock with it. So he chose his timing very, very poorly. And I think his apology and Chris Rock's even apology has reflected that this was a huge mistake on everyone's part. All I could hear was them when he's going up there and showing it over and over again was the Bad Boys theme song from Cops, because that was a movie that starred Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. So.
The memification of this has also
just when you thought your memes were running dry, man, they just stockpiled a whole new plethora of things. Like, did you hear the joke that said, when they brushed Chris Rock's face, you know what they found?
What's that?
Fresh Prince.
That's hilarious.
I heard that earlier. I had to throw it in there.
It's good.
The internet will not let him live this down. This is going to live on in infamy for many years, if not forever.
Yeah. There's only so many ways you can actually diffuse it. I think the only way you can actually diffuse it is actually make it a brand. At that point, they both have to embrace it. That's the only way you can actually possibly get it over with. The moment they pretend they're in on the joke, then it all crumbles. Then you can actually have it where everyone forgets about it in 5 years. But if they both kind of like take it on as a deep scar that they need to be ashamed of, then the internet will make fun of them for decades. That's just how the internet works.
Well, Kyle, you got anything else to add for this special Real Talk episode?
No, I think that just about covers it. Overall, this is the most interested I've been in the Oscars for at least the past decade. I'll admit that for sure.
You mean when you were like 8 years old?
I'm actually 12. I didn't tell anybody. And then Jimbo found me. It's really inappropriate, actually.
Oscars be slapping. just so everybody knows, our third anniversary is coming. It will be Kyle's first year of being on the podcast full time, and not just a temporary fill in. So, Kyle, I just want to say thanks for all you've done for the podcast these last year.
It's been a privilege.
Yeah,
I've actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Sincerely.
If I had an Oscar to give you, I'd give you one, but I don't.
Stop in the face for it.
Yeah, but I don't. So I'm just going to give you an attaboy Kyle. But
right.
we'll talk more about that on our special birthday episode, which comes up around the April 9th through the 11th, somewhere around there. So
right around the corner.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't seem like it's been a whole year, Kyle.
I know. Time flies. We're having so much fun.
Or not doing anything.
Yeah, that too.
Well, with that being said,
you.
I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap, Kyle.
And cut.